Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IT Live on Monday morning. Guess what? We got a crazy win, and we're going to talk about that, but also what we think going forward because we're going into a stretch of some legitimate contenders, actual contenders we're going to have to face. So that's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Join Inside Texas for $1. You can read team news from this guy named Eric. You can read recruiting news from Coach Dub. It's so hard because I did it right. Mirrors my screen from Coach Dub right there. You guys know what the deal is, and of course, analysis from Ian and Paul. Guys, that was weird, and it wasn't looking good. And then watching it live was a range of emotions, especially doing post game, because you have all your notes ready. You're like, all right, we're about to talk about this, and then at the last second they turn it around. But hey, can't be mad about that. It was awesome. Eric, what were your thoughts? I know you had a different viewing experience, but what was it like taking that in?
I just watched it this morning. Yeah, I was predisposed, but I did listen to the recap, and I could see you going through it on that show.
Yeah,
the immediate post game show. You're like, I don't really know what to even say right now.
Yeah,
I was getting texts from a number of friends, and it was clearly everybody was going through it. Not a giant roller coaster. And I'm in a place where I can't really pay attention to it. And I'm trying not to be on my phone. But I'm sitting there like, that gif of Mark Cuban where he's just like that. Yeah. Like just sitting there doing that. And each text, I'm like, you don't think they're actually going to pull off a comeback, 17-point comeback, especially on an improbable punt return. That wasn't even sometimes I was expecting to see the punt return as just like him straight shot right down the middle of the field. He almost goes out of bounds at the freaking 30. Just a really, really improbable. I mean, I guess I'm kind of having my emotions right now just because I just watched it, and it's frustrating to watch that performance because there's so much nonsense. Again, too many penalties, way too many tackles for losses. A couple of drops, but then there's also those moments of pure awesomeness that only a team that is really talented can pull off, and so. Yeah, this is my post game reaction. It was quite the sight.
Like when a car gets real bumpy, like really bumpy, and you're bouncing your head off the roof and then hitting the ground, bouncing. That's what this team feels like. You fly to the ceiling and then you slam back down, just like back and forth, back and forth. And people on post game were like, "Nothing's solved," and I was like, "I know nothing's solved. I'm just glad like it's way better outcome than what was about to happen, man."
Some things might be a little bit better after watching that. I mean, they were connecting on some balls down the field, which we hadn't seen enough of, but I don't know what the ADOT was for that game, but it had to be, it seemed, I saw a number of times he was at least stretching the field, maybe not on true verticals, but that deep over to Wingo, Mosley caught one that was deeper that, I don't know. I'm not saying nothing's fixed, obviously, but I think there were some good things that we saw from Arch.
If we take it, right? Like that's the thing, cause to me, the lesson was 11 personnel spread, truly attacking. No play action to it, no 12 personnel, spread them out, let Arch throw on the run, like all the lessons here, but we've seen consistently we don't always take our lessons. And so that's where it's like, I think you could have learned if you implement it, there's a path going forward. I just don't know if we implement it. And I've talked about it for a couple of years. If you've ever seen when Sark's offense gets down, they drive the field fast. And people always say this, it's prevent. No, it's not. I don't know why fans say that. They're playing cover 3. And then they're like, well, they start blitzing less. They do start blitzing less, but people take it as they stopped blitzing, therefore Texas could play. It was Texas started hitting shots, so they stopped blitzing.
Yeah.
People have it backwards. Attack.
When he has to go all gas, they move the field.
Yeah.
Why don't you see that a little bit more? So, yeah, right. Next game, it's going to start off. It'll be a slog, I'm sure. And then who knows what's going to happen in the fourth quarter of that one. That's going to be a tough one. I'm being asked here what my opinion of the defense was after that game. I think the announcers talked about Michael Taft more than when he normally plays. The absence, I think, was pretty big. A couple plays in the first half, I questioned their effort on defense. I didn't see guys running to the ball. Trey Moore pulled up once. Spence pulled up once. I'm like, what's going on here? The pass rush again, that was great. And you saw Anthony Hill get involved. That was good. Ethan Burke had a good game. Colin Simmons was on TV a lot. Too many penalties again. And then some bad luck. That McDonald tip, that ball's not even going to be catchable by the tight end. He tips it back towards the tight end.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, man. But yeah, I think they do miss Taft. It's a scary sight for what's going to happen next year because they're going to lose Hill too and Muhammad. I know Muhammad didn't have had some trouble with Thompson at times. Yeah, it was not a good defensive effort. Tackling was poor. Yeah, I just that was a bad game.
In the third too, the narrative came out as like Texas didn't quit. In the third, it was looking like we were about to quit. Like we were jogging stuff, and credit to them, they bounced back, and a few guys took the leadership role and willed us back into it, and the defense showed back up. But in the third, there was a little bit of quit starting to show.
It's such a psychological team, man. It's when they're playing well, they look invincible. When they're playing bad, they look like anybody can beat them. Yeah, I guarantee that they're getting ripped up today in film review on defense, and I think a lot of it's going to be about effort.
Yeah.
But then the pass rush, the D line won that game. Alex January looked really good. I mean, the D line was good. I felt. They didn't tackle the running back well. Booth, he had that line and that long pass, that shovel pass. What the hell is that?
Yeah, that was one of the ones where we kind of jogged that a little bit, expecting the next guy to get him right. And the next guy didn't. And that happens. And then Coach had made good points. He had questions kind of about the secondary, and you're losing Taft, so you have to factor that in. But just a team that's really attacking in the pass, not being the same secondary as last year. And you're going to face some good passing offenses, but it's not going to be exactly like this, and they're not going to have the true speed of Brennan Thompson. Yeah. So we'll have to see what it relates, but that was a tough showing too for the secondary with the context of Taft.
You know what, though? It's something we wanted to see, Homer. Like, if somebody actually attacks the secondary, what would it look like if they have the time to? And I think Mississippi State, the source they pointed out, like, if we have time, we think we can win in space, right? And they were able to do that for most part of the game. But like you, man, after post-game, I had all my thoughts. And after the game, I was like, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of lost for words. Like, I had all this stuff planned. It's like each line got erased, by the comeback. As we started coming back, like, each paragraph started getting deleted. It's like, I'm lost for words. And so, but I'm glad to see the fight, because looking at the sideline, you look at the demeanor and the body language. And even when we scored a touchdown, some people were not happy. Like, no, get up, let's go, get some enthusiasm, get some energy back. And it's kind of like, yeah, we scored, but oh well. It's like, no. So, but it does take some leadership, on the sideline to say, hey, look, we're still in this game, let's go. I love the fact that Michael Taft went out for the overtime coin toss. Like, look, you see him looking at Brennan Thompson like, you want some of this?
He was staring him down.
No, man. And so you can kind of see that. I loved it, but I'm glad we found a way to win this game, man. Like you said, like you guys said, I saw some quit. I saw some effort not given, especially on the shovel pass. From the foul, too. I saw the foul. It reminded me of the Travion Henderson touchdown before halftime last year, the screen pass. Mm-hmm. It's like, who's going to make the tackle? Like, no, everybody makes the tackle, right? And so, yeah, they pick on some young guys, sure. But, man, look, we found a way to win. The defense line got after it. I thought we started bringing pressure. Anthony Hill, I thought, had maybe one of his best games. But Lance Jackson, I think the biggest key was we had depth on the D-line. We could still rush and get after it. They didn't have that. Their starters, that's all they had. They didn't have anybody else to come in and continue to apply the pressure the exact same way, which we did. So see Zena, Lance Jackson, those guys get after it. Man, I don't know. I think that contributed to the win.
1,000. We're number one in the nation on defensive power rushings, meaning like third and short, fourth and short, gotta have it. We're number one in the country. And so that's where you win these games. And there were these big stuff. Also, it doesn't hurt that Blake Shapen's the least clutch quarterback ever. And no one even touches him and he loses the ball out of his hand. I was like, that's Shapen, baby. They just don't know how to win. They're not a winning program, and they don't have players from winning programs, right? So just no one knows how to finish there yet. That's the hard part of being a coach, like getting over that hump. But man, they clammed up. But the whole narrative that like, oh, they gave Texas the game at the end. No, they didn't. Texas outlasted them and then went with a scheme that beat us on offense.
Mississippi State is in that lose close year. Last year you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. At least that's a hope. It's what we were saying in Sark's second year. So, Lebby's got them in the right direction. They're a good team, but they don't know how to win. And then when Texas does get that talent rolling, the talent is there. There's plenty of talent. They're playing below their ability level, largely because the offensive line, which doesn't have a ton of talent, is the anchor.
Yeah. Yeah, you missed a eventful Saturday, dude.
You think, all right, it's Mississippi State, nothing's going on, and I'm in a place that gives you more perspective about life instead of football, and still it's blowing up. That's just my luck. But yeah, I was wondering. First of all, okay, we've been talking about that guy, having, wanting to achieve the goal of coaching in the NFL at some point. We knew that. And, when he went 8-5 and people were writing that he was on the hot seat, I said it's more likely that he goes to the NFL than he ever gets fired from Texas. And so, that's the case. But I don't think, and I know there's still a lot of talk out there. I've heard that he wants to win a national championship before he goes. I don't think he would want to tuck tail after a disappointing season with another year of Arch Manning. But you never know. The coaching carousel gets more and more chaotic every single year. You just don't know. And I don't know. It could come down to does he have a friend in the NFL that's a GM that he would have trust that he would want to work for, that, if you miss this opportunity, you might never give it back. So I don't know, but I think he's bought into the team. Obviously there's been a lot of narratives about him making a couple bad decisions in the offseason. A lot of people have come to the conclusion he was distracted. I don't know if that's the case. I think he just put too much trust in a coach that he's had a very good relationship with for a long time. So I think the narratives get a little too convenient when Texas is not playing to its capabilities. Mac Brown had some ups and downs before he won big. I think with one really good portal window, this team is right back in the thick of things with a concerted effort on the offensive line like they made on the defensive line this past season. Now they are going to have to figure out how to get Taft back. I'm just kidding. But there's still a lot of pieces.
You gotta get Taft back. I don't think the NCAA has the power to truly stop it.
I don't think they even care. Right?
They don't. They've successfully blocked nothing. I think you can theoretically bring him back.
Yeah, I mean, if Pavia is going to be back for this 15th year, so yeah, I don't think it's gonna be really interesting. One thing I do know is, let's say if he did leave, I don't even want to give that much credence because I haven't really heard it to that degree, other than what we heard years ago, and how goal oriented he is to win on every level. Is you don't want to be looking for a head coach in this cycle. It's if you could kick it till next year, hopefully he comes back, wins a national championship, and then if he wants to go to the NFL, that'd be a much better cycle because you're not going to be competing against so many schools.
Yeah, you could have Auburn, Florida, LSU, Penn State, like in the market, and you could end up with the fourth best coach in the market easy. But if you wait until next year, if it were to happen, at least you have another chance to go for a top candidate. But yeah,
I will say this, that Del Conte should have a really good read of everything. You should always have a Rolodex of what if the unforeseen happens. Are you going to who's on that list? So Del Conte should not be caught by surprise of having to have one. That would not be a good excuse, because obviously we're sitting here talking about the possibilities, and we've always known that, hey, it could happen. But I'm also sympathetic to Sark trying to shut down that discussion, and you wonder if there was a mental issue. We talk about effort. If you feel like your coach is getting ready to go to the NFL, maybe you're not going to play as hard. And so, I
100%.
Yeah, I think now we've got a major distraction. I wish the bye week was this week to sort of tamper that down. But it will be good for them to get back at home. I think if you're concerned about effort level, playing back in front of your home crowd against a very good Vanderbilt team, if they can't get up for that, that's
yeah. And Sark said, hey, I made my agency put out that statement because I had to keep my locker room together. So that's him admitting that it could have really bad effects, which it could. Can't preach culture and then your players find out you're looking around, they end up turning on you real quick. But
what Drew says is true too, if you want to bring that one up.
Let me see.
I mean, think about it. LSU was trying to hire Tom Herman, then they went and won a natty with Ed Orgeron because he hired Joe Brady.
Brady, yeah.
Brought in Burrow. So I think that this day and age makes it even more of a crapshoot because you can outfit them with more support at some schools than you can at others. NIL is going to be a major factor. You wonder about a guy like Kenny Dillingham in a school that truly has resources. That could be a match made in heaven.
Yeah, but you also, that's the thing too, is as Texas fans, we forget, we just assume the next hire is going to be awesome. There's no guarantee. And LSU, even though it wasn't a culture fit, Brian Kelly was thought of as a good football coach, right? Even though he's a incredibly unlikable person. But that's the problem, is like there's also no guarantees, right? Like there's there's no reason that it has to improve, right? It can go the other way too. And so that's where you have to be careful there. I've had my thing with Sark's play calling, but I like Sark. Like, I'm trying to promote Sark to full head coach. That's what I'm trying to do. My last thing, people take that as I'm trying to like fire Sark or get Sark out, and I'm not. Like, I like Sark, and so I'm not with the like, well, hey, we'll just bounce right back. There's no guarantee there, guys. Like, we wandered in the desert for quite a while.
I will say that I think Kevin Eltife has a really good read for a lot of these things, and him and Del Conte should be. I feel some confidence with Eltife being involved, and that Sark was a bit of an outside the box hire for Texas, and it's worked. It hasn't worked as well as some fans would like, but it has worked, and I think that hiring process makes me think that you would have to expect the unpredictable. It could be an NFL guy or something. Eltife is a wild card.
Also, you have to be careful with coaches that were successful in the old era, because there's no guarantee that old era transfers over at all. So it's like you need modern success, but the problem, the modern era is like 3 years old. Yeah. So they could have had success for 3 years, but not, so it's like hiring is a nightmare right now because you don't know who's who. And like you said, Cignetti pops up, but that's a hell of an eval. For every Cignetti, there's 10 of those guys that they thought was the next thing that didn't work. And so it's a minefield, and especially with the level of competition going on and having to hold on to recruits, it's just, you don't want that timeline if you can avoid it. All right, and then before we keep going, though, guys, let's hear a word from Academy.
Any gate can be a tailgate.
Y'all are about to get double commercial because I got to read this one and I pressed the wrong button. Double commercial coming for you right now. Academy Sports and Outdoors proudly honors our brave military and first responders for everything you do to protect our nation and serve our local communities. We appreciate your unmatched dedication and countless sacrifices. And from October 19th through November 11th, Academy is giving you a salute with 10% off your sports and outdoors purchases at your local Academy store and online at academy.com/discount. Exclusions do apply. All right. Let's get this one. This is interesting. How different will the offense look with Caldwell starting? So we saw Manning go down pretty not good. Eyes closed whenever they zoomed in on him, having trouble sitting up. Concussion protocol. You don't know when they'll meet that standard. And, it's good to rush him back for the team, but it's not good for the human being. So hopefully we handle this properly. And then
he was in the post-game press conference, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought I saw something from. Okay, yeah, I need to look into that. Caldwell, more RPO based offense is what I would assume. He's good at RPOs. Good read on it. He'll actually have a read on it, I believe. He can run a little bit. This is exactly what we were talking about. He can steal you a game, but Vanderbilt is a good quality team. They're going to be very confident. They played Alabama tough on the road. They'll be ready for this one. I'm looking forward to catching up on Vandy tape in the next day or two. That's going to be a very tough game, especially with your backup. But Caldwell, we've seen him generate offense. I mean, the guy's he's got. It seems like he's got 10 plays this season, and all 10 of them have been successful.
And impressive.
Yeah, that fade ball, he put a little bit too much on it, but what a beautiful pass that was, man! It was
and a catch. Yeah,
I loved it,
dude. To come in cold overtime on the road, and then it was an audible. So it was on top of that. It wasn't even called. And so then he does that. And then also that one where he got to like his fourth backside read and threw that in breaker, like that was a dot. And of course, a long run. So really, can he manage the game well? And then we know he's mobile in the sense that he can sprint, right? Like he can run. But how mobile in the pocket is he? I just have to look because it's about surviving this offensive line. Yeah. So we have to see how that mobility is actually sidestepping and throwing versus just being able to run like a zone read. But hey, man, I don't know what else you can ask for him. Whenever he's came in, it's been like, okay, sounds good. And then he goes back to the bench. So he's clearly a confident kid.
Yeah.
And that's going to be important because this is a pretty buttoned down Vandy that you're playing situationally.
I think Sark can kind of tailor to what he does best. Maybe you get a totally different game plan, which may be a good thing. Maybe you go back to the Oklahoma game plan where you want to lean on the run more and say, if we can run the ball, let's run him more. Let's get him in some RPO situations, or we can go 11 personnel, spread him out. He does a good job of, making decisions quick and then like letting it rip and get to the open guy. So, you may get a different game plan with Caldwell than you got with Arch because he does things differently than Arch. So it may not be a bad thing. I feel like the defense, if they come back and perform well, you probably won't need him to go out there and throw for 300 yards, right? I need you to just manage the game. I think he can do that.
Anybody who's watched a lot of football knows that, when the backup comes in, it's sort of a call to action to everybody else on the team. And you can see that you can even get a bounce for a short period of time. It's not enduring, but you can see the team play well because they know that they have to. They got to pick up the position. So, but he's also talented. And you could see we could see the throws. There's the small sample size, but the throw is the throw. That long intermediate route that you saw, you mentioned was a laser. That fade was beautiful. He's a talented kid, and it's not just that. We've heard good things about him going back to when he got on campus in June. He's good. He's savvy. He's well respected. I think he's got the maturity you expect for someone that's been in college so long. I hate that Arch is likely going to miss the game, but I am excited to see what Caldwell does. With 80 snaps.
Yeah, and how protectionist we are versus because he'll go after it. Clearly, we've seen that he'll go after it. My favorite moment with Caldwell is one of those games where Arch just was missing everything, and then Caldwell just throws like a slant, and he was just like, "That's what you do, man." It's just right there. That was my favorite moment. But we know that Arch can do some really special things too, like make those NFL throws and super athletic in the pocket. So we can't expect that from Caldwell. But I think he can get you a win if you just don't go silly. He had some interception issues last year. We need to make sure that that's sound. But yeah, I feel definitely more comfortable than generally any other backups, right? And so I think that's a big factor. And then we'll see how the gamesmanship of Sark. Sark hates disclosing injuries, so he'll probably be like, Arch is great. We'll see what's going on with that. All right. The offensive line still had struggles, but people were talking about it earlier. Stroh did end up staying in.
Yeah.
And so I thought he did relative better than we've seen. There was a couple ones, man, it drives me nuts. They'll have guys lined up directly in front of them, and then they just let them go right by. And I don't care what your assignment is. That's just human life. If I'm out there, I'm going to die whenever he does it, but I will throw my body before that guy kills me. But they just do a lot of this stuff that's pretty wild. Now, it does get better towards the end. And I think you're getting the ball out faster. There's a sharper mindset. And then, like I said, they end up having to play more zone, not because they chose to do it, but because we were killing them deep. But start killing teams deep so they do that. That's the only way to get the heat off of you and keep away from 12 personnel because you're inviting more people into the box. Yeah. So at this point, it's just, hey, go after them and spread. I think that's kind of the future style to try to solve for the offensive line. And then, Vandy had the 103rd ranked rushing defense in yards per carry, and we were still at like 1.6 yards per carry for most of the game. So I don't think you're going to be able to rely on the run game going forward. So I think that's the style we're going to have to play.
Vanderbilt has a really active front. They're better than they were last year. It's going to be bad for this offensive line. We know that. I can guarantee it's going to be bad for the offensive line. Sark knows that. So you got to figure out a way to scheme it within reason to try to cultivate offense. And then you got your backup quarterback in. I think that's where the RPOs come in. And everybody feels good about Caldwell, but that offensive line is rough, and that it puts a hard cap. It puts a low ceiling on this season. That's why people say, this game didn't solve anything. Well, that's right, because the offensive line is still a glaring problem.
Aaron Bryan, I think, is listed as third on the depth chart for.
I was surprised that he's not even really playing for them. They got a couple guys up front that are good. They're not the biggest guys that I've seen, but they're active, and that style of player has given Texas problems in the past. So if Aaron Bryan's not playing there, that kind of underlines my point that their D line is pretty good.
Teams are just going to continue blitzing the hell out of us. Yeah, but you have to solve that.
Right.
Because, you have to get them out of it. Like, you have to hit downfield. Because the thing is, when they're blitzing, right, they're forcing themselves into a lot of man. And if you can punish that man, well, then they're going to stop blitzing. Therefore, they're going to go to zone. And then Arch is finding zones well right now. He won't play in this next game, but that's the thing is you have to get him out of it. And we consistently wouldn't. We would just go 12 personnel. And we still had some of those problems where we're sending guys, 15, 20 yards down the field. There's no outlet. There's no flat control. and stuff like that. So like we're still having schematic issues. Like we're just calling things that don't really make sense. But that's going to be a major factor moving forward.
I love the fact we found our matchup versus Mississippi State. Stayed away from the big corner and the other corner. Started kind of attacking the nickel and the safeties in the past game when they brought pressure. Like, yeah, you know who to identify, who I'm attacking. Leave those big corners alone and attack the other guys.
Number one's a player for Mississippi State.
He's good.
To be that big and that able to like, he was running step for step with Wingo downfield.
Yeah,
I was like, damn.
He was one of the first guys I noticed when watching them versus A&M. He's an NFL player for sure. But hey, that Wingo stuff is that they can replicate that with Caldwell. It's the quick underneath there. That's what you got to do. That's what we've been calling for Wingo since since last year. And first play of the game, boy, he felt good about it after that, right? It's so up and down. They were, they jump out 7-0, they get a 3-and-out, maybe 2 3-and-outs. They look like they're perfectly fine, and then it just falls apart. But they've got to keep getting Wingo involved in that exact way. He's going to have a drop here and there. You saw that slant down near the end zone. That was not great. But get him involved. That yak is insane. He's hell on wheels after the catch.
Dude, once he gets up to speed, he's wild. And he was breaking tackles at speed.
Well, bouncing off that dude.
Yeah. So to me, Wingo he's not a complete receiver yet. He's an incredible athlete. He'll have to develop the skill of a receiver. But if you can have him as a legitimate number 2, because I think Mosley's your number 1. And so that's where, and I think he has the most complete set, like size, speed, catch combination. And so he had the 2 big touchdowns, and then he also drew like a DPI and a hold on the same series. Yeah. And so he would have had it there. So I don't want a situation where we don't find our number 1 receiver until week 10, like Golden. Pick a guy, and I think he's like AD to me. I've said like a little lackadaisical sometimes off the line, right? Like sometimes you're like, what are you doing? You're the third read. AD would do that too, by the way. But whenever it was clutch or red zone, AD would show up. And I think that's what you want to do. And then you have guys like Moore who always makes a good play. Oh, yeah. And then Livingston, who's always going to make a great play. So it's like the options are there. You just have to figure out how to order them, how to use them, and which target share do you need. That's where I think you maximize them most.
DeAndre seems like he's always open. Like every time I see that guy, it seems like, all right, Arch didn't have time to get to him or whatever, but he always seems to be open. That first touchdown pass that Mosley had was smooth, man. He just slid down, sort of back shouldered it. That was beautiful. And then that touchdown was amazing too. Great concentration. And Livingston had that tough tip, but I think he was getting undercut while that ball got tipped up. That was just bad luck. Yeah, they got those guys are skilled. And they make big plays, like good plays. Like Livingston will do that, like out of bounds stuff. Like and if you watch Moore on the All-22, they're using Moore as the decoy. He's like always like running off safeties. Yep. So they use it like he's really effective. But I think you could flip how you're doing that, right? Like run somebody else off and let Moore get the ball because he makes nice catches and he makes good contested catches too. Yep. And that's something we need. Gonna listen to this at the dentist. Give me some good stuff, boys. This stuff is gonna hurt. I hate the dentist, dude. The dentist on a Monday morning, man, that sounds terrible. I hate the dentist. When I leave the dentist, my hands hurt because I don't even subconsciously realize that I'm gripping the chair. And I don't until like the next hour, whenever I'm done, I'm like, why do my hands hurt? And every single time it's just dentist freaks me out, dude. And I've never gotten any of the good stuff. I've never had laughing gas, anything, man. So I don't even, I'm going at it when I'm in there, I had my wisdom teeth pulled in as I was going out. Like it was all these burnt orange, like geometric shapes. And you're tripping out. I was like, what is this? Because, I'm not. But it's also funny that even when you're tripping, it's burnt orange. It's still burnt orange, man. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Subconsciously, even when you're tripping, it was weird. They were like coming at me, going away from me. It was like, oh man. Yeah. Demo might have the surest hands on the team. Yeah. Yeah. There was one where he was on that low crosser and jumped up and got hit and caught it. So I think that's an important thing. And then for the tight ends, man, like I said, I'm good. I want 11 personnel. The young tight ends, I love the future of, right? But I'm not putting anything on them. They're young. Mm-hmm. But Jordan Washington block on that. What was that? What position that guy even play that worked him over? Like, he was smaller than Jordan. That can't happen. And there's a couple instances of Shannon
taking on ghosts again, just
Yes.
staying there, man. You know, just
A false start.
I'm sure go block somebody, man. You can't just stand
defeats
there.
the whole point of 12 personnel, because now we just have less receivers on the field who are actually dangerous, and we still get sacked. Like, it makes no sense. But 11 personnel, and then try to find ways to get the ball to injuries. We saw it versus Sam Houston. I know it's Sam Houston, but you were hitting him on seam touchdowns. Like, all we're giving him is those dinky, you know, like out 5 yards that way kind of stuff, and guys are on it. So just get injuries more involved, because if you can activate all these receivers plus injuries, and it's spread and Arch can run around and he doesn't have to think, like, he really activates. There's some real threat there. And then you just can't rely on the run game. It'll show up, though. It'll probably be A&M. We'll go for like 150, and then it'll disappear again. But you can't game to game rely on the run game, both because of blocking and some limits at running back.
You can see McIndoe gets tight end, the analyst. Every time Shannon, he's in the game, he misses a block. You can see him throw his hat down like, I was like, hey, dude, you got to find somebody else. I don't know. I'll put the young guys in over him just because they're going to give more effort. It might block the wrong guy, but they're going to block somebody.
I remember when the coaches were talking about that in preseason. I was like, there's no chance. There is no – he's coming along. No, he's not. Come on, guys. What are we doing? We need a blocker. Wingo should just play running back. Look, not everyone's like a natural receiver, you know, and he's not a natural receiver, but you can learn to play receiver, and that's what he's going to get at. He's going to get better at his routes. Some of this stuff is learning stuff. He's outside release on a corner on an out-breaking route. The guy's inside. He's hips open. He's telling him, you're going to get the out. I'm protecting the middle of the field. And Wingo still attacks his inside leverage and gets swallowed up. Those are taught things. Those are not like can't figure it out. He just needs to learn in that regard. But you can't replace that level of whenever he's running down the field.
Yeah.
All right. Let's introduce some controversy from the Jeff, the one and only the Jeff. It's nice to meet you, man. Hate to bring it up, but someone here has to. Someone has to. If Caldwell plays and gets an A+ score with a win, what happens next? Love the content. Thank you, Jeff. This is a common question, so Eric will answer it for you.
Well, yeah, you don't have enough intrigue with the Sark and the NFL talk, huh? So let's do this. I think Arch is going to be the starter because he's the future. This season, they're not going to win anything. You might as well get Arch as many reps as possible. Preferably not while getting concussed, but I don't think there's going to be any sort of controversy. It's sort of like, I'm a Niner fan. You got Mac Jones. Of course, Mac Jones hadn't played an A+ game in a while, but it's everybody knows that Brock Purdy's a starter. That's who you're invested in. You're putting the pieces around him. You're trying to put the offense around him, and he needs some time. He needs experience. Every snap he gets this year is going to make him better next year, especially if they get him some pass protection next year. So I don't think that there's going to be a controversy. I do understand that some fans have been calling for Caldwell. I think Arch did win over some fans. I've been reading comments here and there about
people.
He had a great game. Yeah, he had appreciating his toughness. He's a good player, and you can see it if you can overlook some of the other glaring things. Sometimes you can't see it because it's a glaring when he makes a bad miss that 92% of college quarterbacks should make every time. But then he does a lot of stuff that none of them have a chance of doing, or very few of them have a chance of doing. And I think you have to keep leaning into him. But yeah, go get this win with Caldwell, and you're gonna feel good about the backup. But it's got to be Arch for the rest of the season, as far as I'm concerned. Because I'm already thinking about next season in a number of ways. It's about getting more time with Wingo. Look at that slow start that he and Wingo had. That can't happen. And then I think outside of the Wingo dropper, how many drops did he have? Was it just one or two?
He had 3 on the stat record.
Yeah. See, I didn't see 3 when I was watching.
One was a screen that was really inconsequential. It was just like a average down screen, and it bounced off his hands. The other ones were more like you notice.
Yeah. They need to keep getting reps. Emmett Mosley's going to be around for a long time. Livingston's going to be around for a long time. Those tight ends are going to be around for a long time. We got to keep working with Dalen McCutcheon when he gets reps. So I don't think you make a switch with Caldwell. But man, if he plays an A+ game and they upset Van, what did the line come out on that? I didn't see that. Was it
2.5 towards Texas, right?
Okay.
I think it's towards Texas. Chat, correct me, but I think it's 2.5 for Texas.
I'll probably change my mind later in the week, but right now I would pick Vandy. But yeah, if Caldwell does play well, I understand that the conversation is going to be there, but I'm riding with Arch because I'm thinking about next year.
Yeah. And that's the advantage of bringing Caldwell in. It's like you hope he plays great. And the problem, Caldwell is perfect, right? You can project whatever game you want on him right now, right? Reality is often very different, especially behind this offensive line. So I hope he balls. I think he's played awesome every time he's came in. I've been like, well,
yeah, I'm
so
excited to see him what he does on a larger sample size. We keep getting these very small samples of him, but they're all awesome. It's like he's a pinch hitter. Who was it? Oh man, it was a while back. There's a pinch hitter. It seemed like every time he came in the game, he knocked one out. But then when you play him every day, it's not the same thing. So I'm curious to see how it goes. He is talented. You can see the talent when he throws. You can see that he's got some athleticism. Like Homer said, we do want to know, how does he navigate the pocket? That's navigating the pocket is a huge, huge, huge part of playing quarterback. Finding ways to find the window. I'm not optimistic about anybody behind that offensive line. One thing we're going to learn about him is how tough is he, because unfortunately we've had to learn how tough Arch is playing behind that line.
Yeah, and you just lack of interceptions, right? He did have some issues with that last year. So that's going to be a big thing is decision making, right?
He hasn't thrown a lot in practice because I asked about that because he did have quite a few interceptions relative to his snaps last season, but he's protected the ball in practice at least. But yeah,
also I don't know anything about Troy, right? I don't know what their receivers were. I don't know, how desperate they were having to get. They were down a lot, so maybe. The problem with interceptions is like, did he throw one going into the half on a Hail Mary? Like you have to try to get context too for why those interceptions occurred in the first place. But that's going to be a hell of a storyline. Is he out for sure? No, we don't know if he's out for sure.
Not yet.
But concussion protocol, there's like all these steps you have to meet. And like I said, that wasn't like, I'm a little woozy. That was like my eyes are closed and you're having to help me off the field concussion. That was a serious one.
Yeah, it didn't look that bad as far as the hit. Like I was expecting to see him hit or expecting to see his head hit the ground harder.
Yeah,
he was clearly out of it. And I think it's out of Sarkisian's hand. Like it's now up to the doctors. We'll find out here. Maybe I'll find out today if he's going to be out, or maybe they just check him out, on Friday. Who knows? But I think logic tells us it's probably going to be Caldwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, big boy kind of landed on him awkward. Well, intentional when he hit his head on the ground. So, that's a lot of weight, man.
Yeah, well, it's a matter of time too with how Arch has to be used. It's like he's been taking a lot of hits, and it's just eventually it's going to catch up to you. It's tough.
Yeah, and he's already banged up. You could tell just on that pretty innocent touchdown scramble.
Mm-hmm.
He got up real gingerly, real slow. I think he's just beat up. It's too much. It's too similar to Sam Ehlinger. And I'll tell you what, the fact that he's still making some of those throws while his body's clearly not right. Sam would break down. Sam wasn't quite as big. He was still a little thicker, but it wasn't quite as big. And his passing would break down, especially the deep ball from Sam. The more banged up he got, it's kind of interesting that Arch is. Played well despite obviously not being 100% even before that concussion.
Yeah. But I don't know what you do. How we're using them is kind of how you have to use them. So it's just not ideal, but we already knew that. All right, guys, before we keep going, let's hear a word from Andre.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Sailor Joe asked, what changes did we make in the fourth that led to success that we didn't do before? I wasn't as observing. Did we use more wideouts, a different protection? Was it that Mississippi State wasn't pressuring? So it was, we ran 11 personnel throughout the game, and then we put 12 personnel back in the drive stalled. But it was just a more attacking style. Sark attacks, but he attacks with like some level of play action or some level of 12 personnel, meaning that there's less receivers on the route. You're drawing more guys into a box where we can't block. It was just more simple. It was attacking downfield, but it was just arch drop back. And Ian had a good point, like showed our yards per play and pure drop back versus play action, which has been the case all year long. And we're just significantly better at that. Arch is better than that moving the pocket, all of that stuff. So it was really just a desperation, but all of those concepts can be run whenever. And if you just decide in the first quarter, this is what we're going to be, you're going to get people to stop blitzing you. So Mississippi State had less blitzes. They still blitzed, and they weren't in prevent. They were in cover 3. And they were running defenses they ran in the first quarter. So the whole prevent narrative is total nonsense. But they did end up at points having to drop 8 and play a zone because we were attacking them effectively. They didn't just start playing it out of nowhere. Coach?
Yeah, look, Art started making quicker decisions to get rid of the football. Like, he was going to his outlet a lot quicker, taking the check down to Trey Wise in the flats, finding DeAndre Moore, finding the check down to the tight ends. Like, he was making better, quicker reads than he was in the first half. But you're taking out the play action where you got to fake the run and didn't find it. Like, they know exactly what's coming. They had a beat on that offense. When you start running this offense where it's kind of a little more up tempo and you're kind of going at them, they're going to get gas. Those blitzes and pressures are not going to hit home like they did in the first half, right? So like, you get some worrying back in your mind, like, oh man, here we go again, because you're starting to apply pressure to Mississippi State defense. In the back of their minds, they've lost 3 games like this. Tennessee, Florida did it to them, so it's kind of like, they don't know how to win. We started executing better, and that's kind of like the end of the story. Like, we pretty much just made the plays necessary out of something that we normally don't do. Only we do when we're down and we need it. We go to this type of offense, and so it worked. And the better team pretty much, man, ended up coming out on top.
It was and tempo's a double-edged sword. If your offense is great at tempo, but they stay on the field, you'll tire out the opposing defense. The flip side is once we started 3-and-outing them in their tempo, now their defense is on the field a bunch because they get quick 3-and-outs when they don't execute. So now their defense by the end of it are tired, and they're not ready for those level of athletes that we do have, even though we struggled. They're hard to keep up with. That one throw where Arch rolled out, set up, and hit Wingo. Ooh-wee, man.
Man, that was pretty. And then they extended some drive, too, with some dumb penalties. The roughing the passer, it's like, now they're getting tired. They don't have much depth, so they're getting tired on top of that. So, I mean, all of it kind of worked together.
Can we ask this question or answer this question for the guy at cover 3? AJ XOXO.
Sorry, guys. What does cover 3 mean? Cover 3 means that you're playing a version of zone. It gets much more complicated, but simply it's a version of zone where there's 3 deep defenders. It's normally 2 corners and a safety. So you'll see this shell of 3 guys and then 4 underneath players. And so when I say cover 3 is not a prevent defense. So when people are like, a true prevent is corners are back, safeties are back, and they're back at an unusual depth. Yeah. That's what a true prevent is. They weren't playing that. So the narrative that they played prevent, it's just not true. And I'll continue to fight this fight for the rest of my life. But
answer this follow-up because you end up having one of your safeties as an extra box defender typically. Texas basically matches is cover 3 match. It's very, very common coverage.
So you can have 2 safeties and 2 corners. One of those safeties will go back and defend the post. He's a high player. That other safety will rotate down. So he's not a deep defender at that point. He's an underneath defender.
So Taft is the post player. They want Taft back there so he doesn't get beat to crap, which obviously didn't help on the broken finger. So your post defender is typically going to be somebody that sees the field extremely well and still has the range to make plays. Now, some of that range comes from anticipation and being smart, which he has. But also Jonah Williams is also your post guy for the future. At least until he continues to learn, like Jelani McDonald. Now, Jelani is special. He can do anything out there. He can even play nickel at times. But, yeah, cover 3 is what Texas runs a whole lot of. Taft as your post guy. And then right now, where do they have Filsamy? Was Filsamy in the post? Filsamy was in the post this week, right?
They would rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yeah.
But like the one where Manny got beat on the fade, it was McDonald who came down. And then we had someone in the post. People were mad at McDonald. I'm like, he's an underneath defender. That's not.
Yeah. People always miss that one.
And but it was cracking me up because fans on Twitter are like, quit playing off. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. You don't press this team. They press them and then an instant fade touchdown. So it's just like, guys, I know man is cool. I know it's sexy. I know it's fun. There are serious downsides. There's reasons why these coaches don't play it, especially against a guy like Brennan Thompson with like what 10-1-9 speed. And so the game plan was this: look, we're gonna still play cover 3. I thought we could have played too high, but we still play cover 3, and the goal was just like let them nickel dime down the field, and when we get into the red zone, we'll shut them down. We didn't do that though; they scored the red zone, so that's where it went wrong. But the initial strategy had no problem. So you're going to end up playing off because you have to have makeup time with Brennan Thompson. If I stand right next to Brennan Thompson, I can't run with him, but also I can't read his route, period. If I'm 10 yards off, I can see if he's coming at me, he's running a vertical route. So now I can start bailing. But if he goes inside or something like that, you also need time to visually process with these fast guys what they're doing. And that way you can have a little bit of makeup speed. But if you're right in it, you can't see what's going to happen, and it can end up getting you.
Yeah, I thought one thing they did a lot of switch vertical stuff too, where pretty much 2 receivers kind of switch at the beginning. So you don't know exactly where they're heading to, what they're going. They did it in overtime, but Shapen threw the ball behind Brennan. It would have been probably within touchdown on the slant, but yeah, they started kind of mixing it up.
Yeah, they had that. Shapen just threw a bad ball. They would have scored right then.
They banned that moron.
I don't. Who?
Princess.
Who's Scroll up? I don't even see him.
Scroll up and ban him.
Oh.
Yeah, idiot.
There we go. He's out of here. All right. That's going to 10-1-9 is slow. Yes. Definitely referring to the 100 meters, not the 40 whenever I talk about Brennan. And Brennan turned into a real receiver too. So I got to give him credit there. He's actually done like he's a receiver now. He's not just a fast guy.
He made a really he and Anthony Evans made very smart. I love it when I see guys make smart decisions. You know, go play for Levy. That makes a lot of sense. Perfect scheme fit. You know, I wonder what he would be doing at Texas, but we can see what he's doing at Mississippi State.
Yeah. I didn't even see him in the chat. People are like, did you not know? No, I didn't notice. I'm scrolling through now to make sure that there's no more hidden racists in here. All right.
I don't think he was hiding it.
Yeah, good point. I don't think he was hiding it at all. He was the least subtle I've ever seen. What do you think of the Vandy wide receivers? I haven't broken them down enough to pay attention to the wide receivers. Like to me, what freaks me out about Vandy right now is their execution.
It's conflict. Yeah, they put you in constant conflict.
They're like, dude, they're like their success rate, they're like top 10 in everything. They're just incredibly well coached. But what's weird is their penalties are high. But everything is just like an executing team. And that's going to be the big factor. I have the all 22 for Vandy. So in my little breaks today between videos is when I'm really going to break down personnel more. But they're a good team, man.
And they take on Pavio's confidence and his toughness, and they're going to come in believing full well that they can win that game. And look, they played them very tough last year. Texas couldn't put them away, and that game remained too close. That Pavio is going to come in there expecting to win without a doubt.
Oh, dude, of course. And everyone's like, his stats came against weak teams. Don't do that to yourself. Like, this guy's unique.
Go watch the first half of Alabama. Now, I know he threw some picks later in that game, but, man, he had them coming out of the gates hot. They outplayed Bama in the first half on the road.
Remember, that game ended up close, and it had no reason to be last year.
Yeah, 27-24. That's the that was, if you'll remember that game, Quinn had struggled mightily against Georgia, and they're restoring his confidence. They threw nothing but
screens, baby. Yeah. It was just screens.
Yeah.
And they also put out the first, like, really good defensive game plan coverage wise, which they just did cover 3, but it totally shut us down. And they also started firing that nickel. They started firing that nickel because it destroys your rollouts. You're going to roll out straight into a blitzing nickel. And so they forced Quinn into the pocket. He couldn't move. So I thought they had a really good defensive game plan for us too. I don't think they need all those levels of tricks this year, but it's going to be interesting. How tall is Caldwell? I have no idea. He's 6'3"?
I was really surprised when I saw it.
I thought he'd be like 6'1".
I was surprised how well put together he is. He's not nearly as small as I thought. I don't know why I thought. I guess you don't think that Troy is going to have a 6'3", 215-pound guy that can sling it and run it like he can. Evidently, he can.
And their defense is definitely improved. They're not like crazy numbers wise. I think their FEI is like in the 40s or something. But like I said, and I have to warn this, teams' projections versus our teams often don't hold. So
Right.
like our stat, like I said, for instance, Mississippi State's a bad rushing defense, and we couldn't do anything. So it's just more of like which Texas shows up, which game plan to start go with. Is Arch not going to play, but is Arch having one of those days? Those kind of things too. So it's just really hard to project this team. I'm totally in fan mode watching these games. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hanging out, especially that comeback. 1.6% chance of a win.
Did it get that low?
Yeah, it was a 1.6% win chance. And then what did Justin post? Somebody said it was like the first time in 450 FBS games that a team has come back down 17 in the fourth. Like the improbability of that is not sustainable, but thank God that it happened. Still a little nervous that we've been in 2 overtimes with teams at the bottom of the league. That's not great, right? But hey, man, it's way better.
Yeah, Sark said we can't keep living like this. Yeah, buddy, I agree.
Yeah. You do something about that guy. Even the the OU game, the win expectancy wasn't as high as you would have thought based on the final score. They don't play clean football. They didn't play clean football last year. It's why I didn't pick them over Ohio State. Too many penalties. At least they have done well on the turnovers. Arch had that pick. That was a tip. Wisner had a fumble that he recovered, but they haven't really had to pay the price for turnovers.
And that pick, if he makes that throw, it's awesome. If it hits Livingston in the hands. Now you can argue, should you even be throwing that? Probably not. But the argument's no, because it hit Livingston in the hands. So
honestly, I thought he had it, and it looked like Livingston was undercut when he was trying to catch it. And I think that messed him all up.
The safety was crashing down, and Livingston, like a human being, is like, I'm in the air about to get demolished, And so I think that kind of factored in a little bit there, but that's going to be a big thing. But yeah, the fact that we have lacked turnovers, that's how the offense just totally fails. And we haven't done that. And I think we're number 7 in the country now in like explosiveness, and none of it's coming from the run game. So it's all pass game explosiveness. And that's why when people are like, why did Mississippi State start playing coverage? It's like, because that's how you solve explosiveness. Like I didn't even think the choice was that wrong. But you're going to get like a UTEP again. You're going to get a 3 high. That's like, this is all y'all do, like that's the only time the offense can move. So hopefully, and then someone's going to figure out, don't kick to Niblet eventually.
And don't try to go power on 4th and short. You're not going to get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't go for it on 4th and 1. Play coverage to stop explosives, and don't kick to Niblet. And Texas, what is Texas going to do? That's going to be a big factor. But luckily, we're about to play really good teams that are going to go with the like, well, we're going to do what we do. So you're not going to have the level of game planning, even though teams love to game plan start. Anytime any coach gets buzzed for being quote unquote, a mastermind at anything, other coaches are like, oh yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. The ego of coaches is very real. It's gonna be interesting. And I'm not always in love with our home performances either. We know for a fact we've been better on the road. This year's been a little different, but
yeah, Sark talked up. We're a great road team, and they've got handled by Florida, lost to Ohio State, not looking good the last 2 weeks. But man, it is tough to go on the road for that long stretch. Mm-hmm. You might be technically a home game, but that's always a road game. I don't care what anybody says. So that is a tough stretch, and Mississippi State is a quality team. You could see that they don't know how to win yet, but I watched them a few times this year, and they played A&M tough, much tougher than A&M. That score will indicate. A&M didn't score until 1:50 left in the first half. Yeah, it's a solid team. Levy's got them going in the right direction.
Yeah, but that's the hard part, is actually teaching them how to win, because you're going to start losing. They're like, you're up 17. But yeah, the players don't have a history of winning. The program doesn't. That's the hardest part of a turnaround job. And the fans are pissed at Levy, man. They want to fire him, dude. Add him to the pile, man. Everyone's getting fired, dude.
They should look. It's just a frustrating part of building a program is getting over the hump, and he's going to need another year of portal guys. Probably needs a quarterback that has a little bit more of the clutch gene, and they'll be fine. He's doing that. So they're also in a pretty good position where a lot of players can help them in the portal, where far fewer players can help Texas. Those guys aren't on the market nearly as much, but the sheer number of players that can help Mississippi State improve. And you saw it. Brandon Thompson was not only Texas's afterthought, but also OU's, and he's their best player on offense.
Gillette played well. Darian Gillette played
Bledsoe
well.
made some plays. I was like, man, what is this?
Right. So that's just the sheer amount of players that can help rebuild an SEC program are much greater that can help get an SEC program over the top.
Well, we're in a great position, right? Because you have all these major programs firing their coach. That opens up players to the transfer portal. And then whoever they hire is going to open up players there. So you're going to have like 6 or 7, and we don't even know who else is getting fired. You might end up with 10 teams, coaches moving around, and now you have 10 teams to try to go throw a pitch to. So for a portal year, you couldn't really ask for anything better with all these major programs popping open.
I got asked up the stream about recruiting and how it affects with Brian Kelly. I don't care about high school recruiting right now. You should not care about high school recruiting right now. I see a couple talented running backs that Texas has pre-existing relationships with, and I'm hoping either one of them wants to go into the portal. That's Texas's language right there. They cannot go into the next season with Trey Wisner and I love Trey. I thought he was
always the Trey caveat.
Yeah, well, I do. But first of all, they got to get the offensive line right. It won't matter what they do if they don't do that. But yeah, I'm looking at who goes in the portal. Now Harlem's going to be a little bit tougher because he is a Louisiana kid. LSU got the hometown proximity advantage. But Caden Durbin, that's Colin Simmons' guy. Duncanville. Let's see what's going on there. But they also get the offensive line. They need to load up. They have to go into next season with not just starters on offensive line, but guys from the portal that are depth as well to give those guys the starters competition. There's not enough competition at Texas right now.
Scarlett, it's midseason. Isn't it? This new era is insane. I know. It is midseason.
This is why I was laughing at people. When Mike Gundy got fired, hey, who do we want from that? Man, nobody cares about Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State. You're going to have Florida open up. We didn't even know LSU was going to open up. What's going on? How's OU going to finish? I mean, there's just there's a lot to account for. You don't even look at Oklahoma State and programs like that don't have talent. LSU has talent. Florida has talent.
Our defense travels. Not really. Not really. Not really. So that's the thing is, at first it was just like, well, the defense is going to have to hold everyone to 10. That's just so impractical, especially with this line of offenses we're playing. Arkansas sucks. Their offense doesn't. Like, you have no light offense that you're going to play. Like, the defense is going to give up points. It's just, can the offense get those explosives? Of course, there's no shot, but you would why not? Hello, how are you?
Yeah, our defense couldn't even win the coin flip going into overtime. What the hell, man?
I know. I was like, come on, Taff. We sent you out there for a reason. The Brian Kelly stuff is wild. What's getting wild is the governors involved in that. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, this is getting crazy, man. And then they told him, look, you need to fire your OC. The AD did. And he was like, well, if we fire the OC, you have to fire the O-line coach. And apparently he didn't want the O-line coach fired. So then Brian Kelly just said, forget you. And then he fired him, which kind of commendable, to be like, you're not coming in here, but also, it gets you fired really quick. So it's going to be a little bit, it's crazy. I know coaches right now are like, okay, like, I don't really like this new world here.
It was weird. A number of players from LSU or former players, like, they're happy Kelly's gone. It's like, oh man, they really didn't like this guy.
Yeah, did you see him they were like posting videos of kicking rocks like after he got fired and like, yeah. Well, I've never heard a positive thing about the man, dude.
Kelly's personality only works when you're winning. So
exactly.
Nobody's going to like him if you're not winning, and there's going to be a lot of horror stories behind the scenes, and whatever. Every little thing's going to be under the microscope for him now that he's bad. We saw the same with Tom Herman. They go 10-4 in 2018. Yeah, all of a sudden Tom Herman's a little bit more tolerable. Mm-hmm. But then 7-3 COVID year, it's not the same. And then there's a lot of stuff that comes out. The college football in general is absolutely wild. It's always been a great sport with, unpredictable games and outcomes. But now it's just nonstop away from the field is almost as entertaining as the actual games.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's a nerve-wracking time, but that's what we need for the portal. All right, chat. Thank you guys. Eric, when are you coming home, man?
I will be home tomorrow. Gonna go have dinner with my stepsister and her son in Sacramento. Watch Game 3 of the World Series, and then back to Texas. Can't wait.
That'll be nice. That'll be nice. Everybody, go to Inside Texas. You can join for just $1. Read all the good stuff. The board. It's been really active, man. It's been a lot of really good conversation lately. There's been a lot of controversy that stimulated it, but it's been really enjoyable. Really, this past week has been awesome, even with the weirdness. Guys, this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, and have a great Monday.